Well, we are chatting with Kim Dennis, a psychic medium from Calgary, more commonly known to a lot of people as Clairvoyant Kim. So good morning, Kim.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. And so you are working on a pretty exciting new project. What are you starting to get involved in?
Well, I have a new show in the works, a new television show. I had one Antique Psychic about 12 years ago. Different people have come to me about doing a different TV show, and Jeb Fink is going to be my co-host, and him and I are going to go on the road to small towns, communities, or cities in the Alberta area and come and do readings. I'm doing a bit of a pitch. We're looking for people who are willing to be on the TV show and get a reading. That's what we're kind of looking for. So if you have an interesting story and don't mind being on TV and talking about your private life a little bit, we would love to hear from you.
How does somebody like Jeb Fink, how do you get somebody like that involved in
well,
this?
him and I have been friends for a long time. I used to do the breakfast show quite a bit, way
Okay.
back like a million years ago, and he was on there. So him and I became really good friends, and we've always bounced around the idea that we should do something together. But he's a comedian, and I'm really not. And it's not that what I do is funny or anything like that. It's going to make it a little bit more enjoyable, and he's going to interview the people afterwards, and we're going to kind of go on the road a little bit, just like Canadian Pickers.
A nice balance, too, because, I mean, what you do is probably very serious sometimes.
It's very serious, and we're not going to make light of that at all, but he just brings another aspect to it as well, too. I want to be, pardon the pun, really down to earth. That's what my goal is in my work, is to be really down to earth about what I do.
Excellent.
That our loved ones aren't as far away as we think that they are, that they still walk with us. They walk with us, and, that's easy to say, but I like to sit with them and give them information that there's no way I have any business knowing. I spoke to a lady yesterday. I said, "You gave blood yesterday." And I'm like, she goes, "Yeah, how did you know?" I'm like, I don't know. Your mom's telling me, I spoke to a lady. I said, "You got new tires, but you only got 3. And she said, "Yes, I did." And I said, "Yeah, your dad's telling me." Like, how would I know that? Right? Like, it's not anything that I could look up. And it does give a whole lot of comfort. Obviously I can't bring anybody back, but I can make that gap in grief a little bit narrower, so that you just sort of know that your loved ones are still around. You know how the older you get, you're young, but the older you get, you still feel like the same person on the inside.
Yeah.
That's because that's your soul. It doesn't age. It doesn't age. It's timeless, right? And if a person is sick or has mental health issues, there's no wheelchairs on the other side, all that stuff stays behind. Stays behind with your physical body. So it can be quite comforting. I mean, nobody's getting out alive, or we're all going to cross over, right? That doesn't make it easier, even if your mom's 95 and she crosses over or something. So, yeah.
So I guess curiosity more than anything, with something like this, how do you even begin to know that this is something that you can do?
Well, it was progressive. It didn't happen overnight. Probably my biggest, in retrospect, my biggest sign was at 13. When I was 13, I started having out-of-body experiences. And I started having them almost every night. And most of the time, almost all the time, I didn't go very far. I just went in my bedroom, maybe around my house a little bit. I remember going and watching my brother sleep, and I could hear his fish tank going in his bedroom, so I could hear what was going on. And I never once felt scared, ever. Never felt scared, never thought I was going to die. And they almost became annoying in a way. So for the most part, I didn't go anywhere. I just went about my house or where I was, and I could see myself sleeping and stuff. And then that went on for about 10 years. And a couple times I went to a higher place and saw a few things, and maybe at a later time, if you want to talk about that, we can. And then at 23, they stopped. I had my first child. I had my daughter, Ashley, and they stopped, just like that. And I don't know if I was a sleep-deprived new mom. I had other things to do. I don't know. I wasn't getting much sleep as I was. And then I was a bank teller for Canada Trust back in my 20s. So when she was a toddler, I went back a couple nights a week to Canada Trust. And then the intuition phase kicked in. And I knew so much useless information. It's like I would sense customers out in the parking lot. I'd be talking to a girlfriend. I knew she cut her finger that morning. I'd be talking to somebody, and I'm like, who's Fred? She goes, that's my grandfather. And I was like, yeah, he was a policeman. She goes, yeah, why do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. That's what I do. And it just, long story short, it just kind of grew from there. And the people who were closest to me kept saying, why do you know that? Maybe you're kind of this psychic thing or whatever. But it wasn't anything that I sought out to do. But I just couldn't get away from it, which was good. Glad.
And then when did you start getting involved to meeting with people and doing readings with them?
Well, I started just with friends and stuff. I started giving just little, they would tell me something, this and this and this, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, well, yeah, but this, and this. And they're like, yeah, you're right. I said, this is how it's going to turn out. And it would. And I would just do that with my girlfriends. Once they knew I could do this, they were asking me questions all the time. Friends, eh? And then another part is where I lived in Kensington, in Calgary, there's a spiritualist church. And I would literally drive past it every day to take my youngest daughter to high school, right? And I was like, maybe I should go in there. And I did. I went there for one of their little services, and one of the elders of the church came up to me. She introduced herself. Her name's Ella. She was very lovely, and I just felt very comfortable with her, and I just kind of spilled my guts in about 2 minutes. I said, "This is what's been going on with me," and she just kind of looked at me and she goes, "You sound like a natural-born medium." Really? And it was the first time anybody ever put a name on it. And the other thing was, most people haven't heard of her. Her name's Rosemary Altea. She's a medium from England. This was years ago. Well, it was in the 90s and when Oprah was on. And she was promoting a book, The Eagle and the Rose. And I remember clearly I was making spaghetti. I was making dinner, and I had Oprah on, as you do, in the 90s. And I was listening to her talk, and I literally turned supper off, and I was like, what? And it wasn't my story, but I could relate with so much with what she was talking about. And that's when it sort of started to come together for me, what was going on. So I just started sitting with people, and I remember this one girl said, "Will you give me a reading?" And I said, "Well, sure, I'll try." And because I channel people who are crossed over, I think that's why the information is so accurate. It is. Most people come for three reasons, right? Either because they're really grieving and want to connect with somebody, they really need some insight and direction to life. And I'm really good at spiritual guidance, and some people come for a bit of both. It can be quite a comfort, it can be quite a comfort, especially somebody like a parent that has lost a child or something like that.
So when you get to meet with people, and these are, like you say, the two most common things people will come to you with, is that your hope for them when they go, is to have that sense of comfort, or what do you hope that they get from this?
Well, my hope is when they leave, they feel better, relieved, better on some level. I wouldn't know if they're happy, but relieved. I can see it when people go, that they just feel a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable. When your loved ones cross over, you hope they're around, right? We all do.
Yeah.
We all hope that they're around, but you don't ever really know for sure. And most of us will, you will, just because you're not a medium doesn't mean you can't pick up on your loved ones who are around, right? Reoccurring thoughts, you think, why am I thinking about my grandma all morning today, And it's because she's just there. Doesn't mean it's a big message, but she's letting you know that she's there. Anything that makes you basically stop and think of your loved one. I think about my dad often, who's crossed over, right? And around Christmas time, about 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about him a lot that day. He's hanging around, Got in my car, started it right away. Boom, Johnny Cash, right there, right? So, look, there's no coincidences in life. There's no luck either, right? Everything happens for a reason. You might not always know what the reason is. So, but I knew. I was like, okay, Dad, Merry Christmas. He was the biggest Johnny Cash fan, obviously. So anything that makes you, and you can talk to your loved ones too. If you're having a real crappy day, missing somebody, your husband's, just say, you know what? Especially if it's the husband, you don't have to stop telling them what to do. Just say, you know what? If you're around today, give me a sign that you're there. Let that thought go. Go about your day. Don't tell them what to do. Just ask them for a sign. And it usually doesn't take very long, and they'll do something that you really can't mistake.
People talk about that thin veil, right, between here and people that have crossed over, and how, maybe kids can see that more clearly than as adults we can, because we sort of shut down.
You're so right. Children 3 and under see them all the time. Somewhere between 3 and 4, it tends to fade. You can pick up on people anytime, or souls that are crossed over. But I say all kids 3 and under see them all the time. They don't know they're not supposed to see those people.
Yeah.
They do. And when and if you get an early talker, a child, they can tell you things, blurt something out about somebody on the other side that they have no business knowing. And they'll just say it very matter of fact. They're not afraid because they can't tell the difference. So I don't know if it's because they're so fresh from the other side and they don't have any of those limitations. Somewhere around 4, that you start to sort of be a little bit more real. But when I talk to an adult and they've had some experience with the other side, they're all freaked out. If a kid says something about it, they're not at all. They just say it matter of fact, like they're saying nice car. You're looking at the kid like, what? But if an adult feels something, they're just losing their mind. It's funny.
So when you're doing something like when you're, whether it's your readings or whatever you're doing kind of in your life, what is the most common misconception that people have about you or about mediums in general?
I guess that is spooky. I think people don't kind of fear what they don't understand. A lot of people think it's fake. Obviously, I'm not for everybody, and I get that. I get that better than other people do. Women are a lot more open to it. I don't know if it's because we bring people into this world, so we have to know that the kind of world goes on. But usually the people who don't, think that I'm nuts or something like that or whatever, they don't usually bother with me. No, but I'm just like, well, just sit with me. And I almost always tell them things that there is no way that I would know unless their loved one was coming through and telling me. So, yeah.
And that's something, is that something you've done before, is kind of if people, not necessarily come up for a reading, but just come up to sort of challenge you, or you're willing to sit and kind of say, hey, this is what I do. You don't have to like it, but this is kind of who I am.
They don't usually bother with me, those people, honestly. I get the odd woman who drags her husband. Doesn't really want to come. But I'm like, okay, just come and get that look off your face, and let's just see what happens.
That's
right?
good. Yeah. So mostly in general, the people that are coming are just they're coming because they want to be there.
They are. You know what? Like I said, this isn't for everybody. I get that. I don't charge tons of money because I don't want it to be an elitist thing. You know, I could probably work less and charge more, but I don't want to do that. I want anybody to be able to come and see me. You know, I will help with missing persons. I don't charge for that, but if I can help, I'd like to.
And then, so when you decide to, start a new TV show, and what prompted you to decide to do that again? Like you said, you had done something like this in the past, and what prompted that need to want to do that now?
I've just had lots of people kind of poking at me. I'm getting a little bit older. I probably would like to do fewer readings, and reach more people this way. So, and maybe just change a little bit how I'm working. This idea with Jeb Fink, this is another thing, just hasn't gone away in a good way. Right, and doing a show with him, it keeps coming back, and that's how the universe works. Whether it's my TV show or anything, anytime you get a reoccurring thought or the idea keeps showing up, the universe trying to push you in that direction. So, that'd be fun too.
Absolutely, if you can have a little fun at work, why not?
Yeah, it is, and I liked doing like Antique Psychic. I really did quite enjoy it. And it reaches a lot more people, obviously. So I can't read for everybody, and I'm not the only medium in the world, obviously, but I can't read for everybody. So, if you've lost a child and you're looking at me on TV and you see that I'm reading for some woman who lost her son and he seems to be coming through and he's okay, well, then you're probably going to get some comfort that your child's okay, too. So that's my hope anyways.
When this happens, and this is, I guess, more of a curiosity thing as well, how do you even approach your family and say, hey, guys, funny story, mom's new job? How does that conversation go?
They're so over me. I mean, my own kids, my daughters are grown up, they're adults, but when they were teenagers, I used to tell them I was on to them all the time, especially my older daughter. I love her. But
trouble.
But, my kids really don't, or my mom, they don't really ask me. My friends do, just if they're in a situation or crisis. It's like, well, why put much effort into it? Let's just phone Kim. That's what she says. So, and I'm fine with that. I would, too, if I had a girlfriend that could do this.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
And then, so now you do have your TV show that you're going to be, getting volunteers for. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you also do come to smaller communities like Strathmore to do kind of readings for the day. So are you going to be in our area anytime soon?
Yes, March 26th, I will be in Strathmore. I usually go to the Super 8 Motel in Strathmore. They're really great. They are private readings. It's not a group thing. Although I will sit with a family. I did last night. I will sit with a family. If you're going to bring your sister, you shouldn't sit back to back. You should sit together. Friends shouldn't sit together because you don't want your friend's whole family coming through in your reading, but family should. But I do travel to small towns, and I am coming March 26th to Strathmore. Nobody knows that except all you people right now.
Wonderful. And then if somebody wanted to book a reading with you, how do they go about doing that?
My website is clairvoyantkim.com. I'm on Facebook, Clairvoyant Kim, and my phone number is 403-283-8414.
Perfect. So if that is something, so with the TV show, is there a different way to kind of get involved with that? How does the process for that go?
Yeah, you know what, too? If you're interested in being on the TV show, just send me either a message on Facebook or, just a 1 or 2 liner on email. Don't tell me too much. Just say that you'd be interested in being in the show. I mean, most people are interested, would like a reading, but they have to be willing to, it's going to be on TV, right, for everybody to hear. But I'm not going to talk about their private life and stuff like that too much anyway, so.
Well, this is exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing this kind of come to fruition.
Well, if you're interested in this, like you sounds like you are, I'd like to offer you a free reading. So.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I feel like I'm going to take you up on that.
Do that.
You never know, right?
Yeah, you got nothing to lose.
What do you have to lose by being open-minded?
You know what? That's it. With Frank Zappa say, your mind's like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for taking the time with us today, and we look forward to seeing how this turns out.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, and I'd love to come back anytime you want.
Absolutely.
Okay.